Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 1st of 2024, and given that the Walt Disney Company and many of their divisions over there are in a constant phase of panic and desperation right now, especially Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios, but really shifting away from that and looking at all the Disney live-action remakes that are currently in the production phase as we speak, the biggest one of all that's having a lot of issues is Snow White 2025, also simply known as Snow White. Now we know that this movie in particular, carrying both Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler as the leads, is going through a lot of trouble right now. Now, not only did they overly invest with this movie, but they also have a lot of actual problems between the talents and even the budgeting issues that are being applied to this movie behind the scenes. Reshoots, by the way, are looming later this year. They're looking to do this around December, the first week of December, to really get things rolling, but some changes may be applied. They want to roll things back a bit and perhaps even begin reshoots by late November. A little bit more on that later. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So we all know that Rachel Zegler has been creating a lot of issues for the Disney company and specifically for Snow White. Now, this movie already had a lot of trouble to begin with, even before the Rachel Zegler drama, believe it or not. A lot of it had to do with Peter Dinklage, by the way, and we have a lot more to talk about that scenario as well. But interestingly enough, this is where things begin to unravel between Gal and Rachel, and why it's only creating more tensions between the two as reshoots loom. So let's jump into this. Now, specifically on top of everything here, with the Walt Disney Company in a constant state of panic over the multiple failed divisions, those like Bob Iger and the executives are still doubling down on their ideology with DEI. Now, one monumental development going on currently has more to do with Gal Gadot and the ongoing drama between herself and Rachel Zegler. Now, a crucial update to this situation recently escalated to a point where recently Gal had another major argument with Zegler over her social media posts and her takes on real-world events, and how she finds them to be quite offensive on how she is using that as a way to also promote Snow White. Zegler reportedly refused to take down the posts even to this day that revolved around her real-world beliefs as a way to promote the film. However, recently Gal, since she is very close with director Mark Webb, decided to influence him to delete a major scene that featured her worst acting in the film. The reason why Gal's crucial scene toward the end failed miserably, as it turns out, through, of course, the latest test screening, had a lot to do with Rachel Zegler making the scene very difficult, where it took her roughly 15 whole takes to complete the scene, since Rachel wanted to do things a certain way, and this put so much pressure and exhaust pretty much on Gal Gadot. This was the very scene in which Rachel viewed it as one of her best scenes in the film. Gal recently got Disney to delete Rachel's very extensive scene that was described to be a moment in which Snow White leads the seven dwarfs and new characters called the Outsiders against the evil queen and her henchmen, and was described to be some sort of a battle scene that was completely axed due to Gal speaking up about the major flaws in the actual sequence. Now, since she is very much friendly with director Mark Webb, she was able to actually get him to communicate with the executives about the very flawed scene and got Bob Iger to make the call to put this major moment in the trash. This led to many in-studio battles recently between Zegler and the Disney heads after she got very annoyed with Gal for bringing this all up to Mark. The grudge between Rachel and Gal now is described to be worse than it ever was, where Gal also made it clear to Disney that she is now officially unwilling to do an interview side by side with Rachel with Vanity Fair and on The View with Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg. Those two exclusive interviews that were going to have the two actresses on board are now cancelled altogether outright and no longer moving forward at all. Now guys, let me just say one thing about this before I move on. Now, obviously, this whole scenario between Gal and Rachel, I believe it's beginning to hit its peak, right? I think that they're really beginning to understand, where their place is with this production, where they should stay. I don't think that you're going to see them really shaking hands for a very, very long time. Perhaps maybe not even after this movie's finished. We'll have to wait and see. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at those like Rachel and Gal, they really are in this position of a tug-of-war scenario. You have the Disney executives that really want to get this movie done quickly. They don't want to delay this thing again. They already delayed it enough as it is in their minds. So if they don't get these reshoots applied by February of next year, or late January the latest, they're going to have to delay this thing until June or July of 2025. So let that sink in for a moment. That means, of course, they're going to have to really reshape their entire marketing campaign. They're going to have to reshape their budgeting for the marketing again, and to really rethink their strategy, because when you place a marketing campaign within different months, it's a whole different story. You know, based on, you know, what people are doing, you know, seasonal impacts, stuff like that. But interestingly enough, on top of this, alright, to make matters even worse, is that this also led to Bob Iger attempting to quick start the reshoots for Snow White from early December until late November instead, and rolling it back, and it's putting the Disney heads in a constant state of panic over the funds that will be applied to this film, which are estimated to be around $25 million just to refilm this major scene, and others before they begin more test screenings in 2025 before it's actually marked as a release date. Now, Rachel is not taking the recent Disney decisions well at all, since it all started from Gal bringing up her issues with the actual movie. Now, that's the other thing, is that they really want to get this thing out by late March, right? You know, we all know that they're trying to really get this thing done quickly as much as possible. And if you're going to really try to rush through reshoots, if you're going to try to just kind of push it through and just do it for the sake of doing it as fast as you can, I think it's going to come out very sloppy. The actresses and the actors on board are going to be very exhausted. They're going to appear like they don't even care about being on set. That's a lot of times, by the way, where you see some actors in movies where they don't really care that they're there, and the audience can see that many times, more often than not. You know, I think a lot of you have seen that before, where the actors just seem like they don't care about being there. Believe it or not, it has a lot to do with scenarios like this, the drama on set, the in-studio battles, the constant back and forth, reshoots, I mean, the whole 9 yards. So I think Disney has a lot of work to do. They got a lot of things ahead of them right now, and it all started because of Rachel Zegler, quite frankly. But a lot of it also had to do with the fact that they are really trying to make this movie pretty much divert away from the 1937 original. They got a lot of backlash from that by families that were fans of Snow White, the general public that are against DEI and ESG scores being applied to Disney movies and Disney productions. I mean, it's all that nonsense that the general public rejects. And then you got people out there like Bob Iger that comes out a couple of days ago saying people that are opposed to DEI are against anything that should be applied to movies like this. And basically he finds that very offensive. Now look, diversity is fine as long as it comes organically throughout the script writing process, but don't use it as a form of messaging over proper storytelling. That's where people have a problem. But overall, guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.